What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to Tour Life. Today is December 3rd, and this is episode number 99. We are one away from 100. Can you believe that? That's kind of crazy. And we have a pretty big podcast episode for you guys today. One of the biggest news, I would say, since Paul Macbeth leaving Innova, Ken Climo announcement that he will be leaving Innova. We'll be getting into all the details about that. We'll be talking about whether or not Kristin Tattar got snubbed for Disc Golf Pro Tour Player of the Year. And we also will have Ezra Robinson on as a pre-recorded interview at the end of the show. You're going to want to stick around for that. And then we'll finish it off with some listener questions at all. But before we jump into it, Yuli, how's it going, brother?
It's going good, man. Actually in Scottsdale, Arizona, I'm at Ricky's pad.
Whoa.
I went to my parents for Thanksgiving. We had a nice little Thanksgiving big get together. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. And we just made the trip up here a couple days ago and loving it. Best weather in the entire country, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking disc golf weather year round, it's got to be probably in that area or South Florida. Those are probably
Florida.
the two tops, right? My week was was an up and down one. Ohio State losing to Michigan, did not see that coming. that was not good. And then the fight at the end of the game was like, made it even worse because it's just like, bro, just you guys lost, just go into the locker room. But no, you had to pick a fight, whatever. But the positives, Thanksgiving actually went really, really well. For those that forget or don't remember or didn't listen to last week's podcast, this was the first year that we actually had family over to our place, and a lot of the cooking and, decorating and planning was on Kelsey's shoes, and she did a phenomenal job. I will say that we had pie overload. We had like, how many is too many pies, Yuli?
I don't think you can have a number of too many pies.
I think
can you have too many pies?
I think you can, because then because that's the game I got to where I got full and I felt like I was missing out because I wasn't able to try every pie.
You got to thin slice it, dude.
Maybe I should have done that. I mean, you know me, though. I'm a big pumpkin fan. And then someone brought a pumpkin cheesecake, which I've never had before. That might have to be a standard moving forward. Pumpkin cheesecake, super, super good. Kelsey's also turning into like a really good chef, which I don't even know. We really didn't even talk about her like cooking. She just started, I guess, because I've been working a lot this off season on a whole lot of different things. So I've been very, very busy, and sometimes I'll just kind of forget what time it is. And she just started making food and bringing it in for me to eat. And wow, I mean, sign me up for that all day. It's been a phenomenal experience. Just like 10 o'clock in the morning, I just get like a beautiful egg, turkey, bacon, English muffin sandwich. That's just 10 times better than any Starbucks one you've ever had. So that's a nice little bonus. Some other things. We saw Wicked. Have you seen Wicked yet?
No.
You have to see it. Top 5 movie of all time.
What?
Yes, me and Kelsey both have Me and Kelsey both have it in our top 5s.
I did see Gladiator. Well, we went as a family to go see Gladiator.
Is that good too?
It was really good. So
I heard that was
skeptical
good.
because one of my top probably 5 movies of all time, Gladiator.
Very good.
And when you make a sequel, it's really hard to, I thought they were going to ruin it. And I'm telling you, they did a really good job of like meshing the two things together.
What timeline was it? When is it set place? Before or after the first one?
I think it's like 25 years or 20 years later.
Ooh, okay, interesting. I feel like it's normally easier to pull off the prequel.
Yeah.
To film something before, because I've been hearing mixed reviews on Moana too. The first one was so good. I've heard. I feel like I'm with you. It's so hard to make a sequel better, but the prequel comes before, so you can. It's almost a whole different storyline. Another movie that I'm really excited to have come out is it's not How to Train a Dragon. It's How to Train the Dragon. How to Train My Dragon. They changed it, but it's live action, so it's like actual. It's not animated.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I loved that movie. I thought that was a great movie, and the preview looks really really good. So, yeah, a lot of good movies coming out. I kind of forgot how good it was to go. When was the last time you went and saw a movie?
Top Gun, I think, is the last one that I saw in the theater, which is really good.
Okay, I kind of forgot how fun it is to go to the movie theater and watch movies.
Same.
Yeah,
Yeah, we had a blast.
It's a very enjoyable experience, and they bring food to you now too. Like it's a very very enjoyable experience. Some other things going on in my world. I got a tournament this Saturday. I haven't been able to practice too much these last few days because it's been freezing cold. But these next couple of days look pretty nice. So hopefully going to get out and play these next few days leading up into that. So we'll see how that goes. 2-day tournament. So, or 2-round, 1-day tournament is what I'm trying to say. So
nice. So this Saturday, I'm actually running a charity event for my foundation. So if you're in the Charlotte area and you want to come over, $25 gets you into the charity, and we're going to be doing a shotgun start. I'm about to post it on my social, so I'm not going to say the exact time because I'm not looking at the flyer right now. But this Saturday, fly in Friday, run a tournament on Saturday.
Let's freaking go! Yeah, if you're in Charlotte, go out. And contract talks are in the works. So it's contract season. We're going to be talking a lot about that with a lot of people. But this week, I have officially started talking contracts. So I'll give you guys updates as I get them on my side of things. And obviously, if you're a player and you're watching this or listening to this and you have contracts, or maybe you're up and you don't have someone signed with you and you want to come on and maybe say why someone should sign you, we'll take everyone. If you want to come on and talk contracts, let's talk contracts. And like I said,
we had Austin on recently. That was an awesome conversation.
Yep. And then Ezra will be talking about some of the rumors flying around his name as well. Before we jump into the rest of the podcast, I want to say thanks to our sponsors of this podcast, Manscaped. Hey everyone, this episode is brought to you by Manscaped, the global leader in men's lifestyle and grooming. Every man knows the unbeatable feeling of a fresh barbershop shave. Now, what if I told you that you no longer have to wait weeks or even months between appointments to experience it? Introducing Manscaped's newest innovation, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver, the game-changing tool that brings the luxury of a professional shave right into your home. Whether you're after the daily silky smooth finish or prefer to maintain a rugged 5 o'clock shadow, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver is your go-to for precision and style every time. Head over to manscaped.com and join over 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using code TOURLIFE for 20% off plus free shipping. So what makes the Chairman Pro stand out? Well, it's all about versatility, precision. It comes with 2 interchangeable skin-safe blade heads. You have this skin-safe 4-blade foil that for your close, smooth shave when you're looking to go completely clean. And if a clean shave isn't your style, which it's not my style, Kelsey literally despises whenever I go clean shaven, just switch to the skin-safe stubble trimmer to keep your stubble looking sharp and polished. And here's something that's going to make your grooming routine even easier. The Chairman Pro is waterproof. Yep, you can use it right in your shower. And with up to 75 minutes of runtime on a single charge, you can take your time getting the perfect shave. Get the Chairman Pro today and experience a shave that is as smooth as you deserve. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code TOURLIFE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code TOURLIFE at manscaped.com. Silas, I'm going to say it again. I need my stubble trimmer, Silas.
Hey, man, I'm working on it, all right? I'm working on it.
Yeah, pass it along. I need my look. I mean, it's getting there. I need my stubble trimmer, but always thankful for Manscaped for sponsoring the show. All right.
Hey, whoa.
Yeah, whoa.
I love Manscaped. Look at this. I'm feeling kind of nice today. I mean, I'm a little blurry.
What is that? What is that? Fu Manchu? I can't. I mean, you're way too blurry for me to see anything.
Just know it's looking pretty good.
Okay.
It's
What
looking
is a
pretty
Fu
good right now.
Manchu, by the way?
I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
I can't say that I am that or that I'm not.
Fu Manchu is soul patch and mustache?
Oh,
Or goatee and soul patch and mustache? I don't know. It's something. All right.
two more things before we move
Yes,
forward.
always.
Steelers, they look good.
They look too good.
And I'm telling you, I thought we were in trouble. I thought we were in trouble. I thought we couldn't score points.
George
And then we
Pickens.
put up 40.
George Pickens.
And we got to put the league on alert because our
They're on
defense is
alert.
good. We're throwing it deep.
TJ
We're
Watt's a
getting the
monster.
calls. Watt's a monster in the backfield. I mean, come on. Steelers look good. I'm pretty happy about that. And the last thing is I'm doing Vlogmas right now. So I totally forgot about it. And then the first hit, I didn't have any of my stuff, but I knocked out 2 videos. They're up live right now on my YouTube. And I just filmed another one today with AB that will go up tonight. So we're doing it all the way till the 25th. Go to my YouTube channel and check that out for if you want some extra entertainment.
Yeah, as soon as this podcast is over, head over to Yuli's and
I promise it's not as blurry as this. I promise.
You can get more Yuli over there. All right, biggest news, like I said, that has probably been in the disc golf world since the departure of Paul Macbeth, is someone that is probably even more intertwined with this manufacturer more than Paul Macbeth is Ken Climo. When you think of Ken Climo, you think of Innova. When you think of Innova, you think of Ken Climo if you have been around disc golf for a while. I get some maybe of the newer disc golfers, probably no one listening to this, right? Because everyone that's listening to this podcast is a sicko. They love disc golf. But if you're like a casual disc golfer, I could see how you don't know who Ken Climo is. But for all the sickos out there, we all know who Ken Climo is. And yeah, they made a post on their website. And a couple things I want to talk about from their post. First one, 26 years, Yuli. That is how long Ken Climo has been with Innova. 26 years. One of the things they say in this post or in the written article that they wrote up is they say that Ken has received an opportunity that he couldn't pass up. So what that means, what that leads me to believe is someone came to Ken, or Ken maybe was in talks with someone, or something came about where someone offered him something. Now, we don't know yet if this is manufacturing. We don't know yet if this is, I'm assuming it's manufacturing because he would probably stay with Innova if it was commentary. But there's been speculation that maybe it was the Disc Golf Pro Tour saying, hey, we want you to come commentate. But maybe even with them, they might have something in there that you can't be sponsored. You can't have a sponsorship because maybe there's like a conflict of interest, right? If you're a commentator, but you're sponsored by Innova, there'd probably be some biases right there, right? So this leads me to believe 2 things. 1, someone offered him something. And 2, Innova didn't match it or didn't try to keep him above that.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Yeah, I mean
that's fair to say.
That's logical for sure.
Another thing that they said: Innova and Ken Climo have had a long, fruitful, overwhelming, positive relationship over the decades. If you're Innova and you're writing this thing, I don't think you put that in there. If that's actually the case, like. Maybe you can talk on this a little bit more than me, but I have kind of heard that there's been some tension between Climo and Innova over the years.
I mean, there's always going to be rumors that go around. I think if there was tension, I still think they did a really good job of keeping it under wraps.
Sure.
Because when I think, like you said, when you think of Innova, you think of Ken Climo, you think of a nice little jolly relationship, especially with him coming to the USDGC, even though he's not playing every single year. That's an Innova ran tournament, and they throw him in the booth, and he throws out the first disc, you know what I mean? The first shot, and he's always been a big part of that tournament. So nothing has ever led me to believe like, oh my gosh, these guys are just putting on a show. You know what I mean? And
But there is enough. I guess my point is with this. Normally you would write up something along the lines of like more just Ken. It's been awesome to have Ken with us. He has been a great ambassador for the sport, one of the best disc golfers, if not the best of all time. Like it would be all about Ken, right? But here they're literally talking about Innova and Ken Climo and the relationship between the two. To me, this does, maybe I'm reading into it a little bit, but this does seem like they're trying to kind of squash even further rumors or even further with just how this is running. If you get what I'm saying there.
I do.
They also said we couldn't be more grateful or proud for everything that Ken has done for Innova and for disc golf. See, that's what I think they should have just started with. I don't think if everything was all Gucci and no one thought anything was weird between the two, because there has been also some talks of like Innova kind of handcuffing Ken a little bit, right? With like naming rights and all this stuff. We wish him all the best going forward. Thank you and farewell, champ. Now I did reach out to Climo, asked him, hey, you want to come on the podcast? You want to talk about this a little bit?
What are you doing? What are you doing on Tuesday?
He responded saying, after the first of the year, there will be another announcement. That is all I can say for now. Happy holidays. So I actually respect to Climo because we know a lot of people out there, they love to do an announcement to make an announcement, right? They love to say, hey, big announcement coming tonight. And then they say, announcement coming in 2 weeks. He didn't do that. He doesn't have anything to say right now. He didn't come on the podcast to say, I don't have anything to say. So big shout out to him for that. And hopefully he'll come on once the announcement happens, because I would love to kind of hear everything that went into this decision, all the behind the scenes, whatever he wants to talk about. I think it would be very interesting coming from someone that's been with someone for 26 years, Yuli.
Sure. Well, the last time he was on our podcast too, he had mentioned that he wanted to do more.
Yes.
That he was looking and nobody would ask him and so I'm wondering from that podcast if people started reaching out, and being like, hey, like there's a lot of opportunities with this guy and maybe we throw him a little offer.
Innova, we've seen it time and time again. Innova is very hands-offish, right? They're not going to be the ones that are driving the narrative for anyone. And with Climo, he's not going to go out and buy a camera and start vlogging and posting it on YouTube. He's not going to be doing social media stuff. I mean, we'll get into it here in a second, but he doesn't even have a Facebook page, right? He uses his wife's Facebook page to post. So yeah, 1000%. I'm sure he was wanting to be more involved and wanting to do more stuff. And Innova was like, eh. And yeah, someone probably came in and said, hey, you want to do more stuff? We'll get people to film it for you. We'll get people to edit for you. We'll get people to post it for you. You just have to show up and be the champ. And that sounds like a win-win. A win-win not just for the whoever ends up sponsoring him and Climo, but a win for all of us.
For
right?
everybody. Absolutely. Because he's kind of been this like ghost-like figure in the sport. Very, just kind of in the shadows of whispers of the legend and all those things. And if we can somehow, see him marry whatever this thing is, like you said, it's good for everybody because he's such a big figure in our sport and not being utilized. And we can all agree, not being utilized to his fullest potential, which is what the sport really needs. I mean, when you have somebody like that, who is so influential, who has no influence right now, that's a rare thing to have in a sport. And if you can pluck him out and kind of help him grow with whatever's going on, it's going to be huge. I'm excited. And
you see it in a lot of other sports, right? These big name guys, they stick around, whether it's in commentary or whether it's in, behind the booth in media,
coaching.
You see people stick around and that helps the game grow. It does. Yeah. disc golf is not going to grow as fast if players retire and then you never see them again, you never hear from them again, right? It's going to be a better product for everyone. And again, we're talking about the pro scene here. It's going to be a better product for everyone if people stay involved. And so if this means Ken is going to be in more things and more involved in the pro tour scene, I think that's a win for everyone. Now, some speculation with this move started stirring about. People were thinking, oh, is this Innova creating cap space, if you will, for the two-time Isaac Robinson to move on over? Well, this was quickly squashed by the champ himself over on Facebook. He responded to one of these Facebook comments that said, Innova making room for Mr. Robinson, says Don Smith with the, I don't know, emoji, maybe. And he went on again, like I said, he doesn't have a Facebook page. So he went on his wife's Facebook page and said, don't fool yourself. I left them.
Strong words. I kind of like that. That's hilarious.
I love it. I love it. And yeah, I mean, I think ultimately what ended up happening was Innova was like, hey, we'll just keep you on to keep you on. And in the past, he maybe didn't want to be involved in disc golf, and maybe something has changed to where he wants to be more involved, because we've seen him say it vocally now. And Innova was not wanting to do anything different. And someone came to the table that's willing to do something different. So he said, all right, deuces, Innova, I'm out. Now, there's also speculation. Could he be starting up his own disc golf line? This is from Crunchy_disc golf on Twitter. He says, this makes me lean towards the idea that he's partnering with someone to start his own line or joined a team. Looking up some domain information, it looks like ClimoDisc.com was registered on October 18th of this year. So
some private investigating. I kind of like that.
Yeah. Could there be something down the road there of some Climo discs? Now, I don't think this necessarily throws out the idea that he is going to another sponsor, because I think they could do something where, hey, we want to have a Climo disc line, and they're creating the website and holding the name there, so that way when he comes on board, they have that separate. We've seen it done with Discraft. We've seen it done with Discmania, with Dynamic Disc. We've seen this happening from different sides, so we could see it as well. Now, we've also seen from some people that they're reporting that Climo might end up at Discraft. This is actually a question that was sent in on Twitter, saying that it's been reported by some people that Climo might end up at Discraft. From the manufacturer's perspective, Yuli, what is the benefit to picking up a player who no longer plays the game? Is there a possibility he comes back to play?
I mean, those are questions for Kenny, because like in our interview that we had with him, it didn't really...
The playing doesn't sound like he...
It doesn't, yeah, from what we talked to him about, it didn't sound like he was like, I'm trying to come back and play a lot of tournaments.
Best case scenario, he can play like one round of disc golf, and then he's done so. But respond to that. Like, what is the benefit of someone, put on your team captain hat? What's the benefit like Ken Climo has to picking up his name, his likeness, being able to use him in content for a manufacturer, even though he's no longer playing?
Pretty big. If you want me to put on my captain's hat, then, I mean, first thing that comes to mind is, like I just said, there's nobody with a bigger aura. There's nobody with a bigger name that doesn't play. And it kind of goes without saying, especially with the sickos that, like you said, are watching this podcast. Listen, he comes out and he makes a line of discs. People are going to buy that kind of right away. There's a lot of benefit to that. So that would be huge for a manufacturer. And with everything going on across the landscape of disc golf, that kind of makes sense to me a little bit, of somebody trying to pick him up and use that name and get his name on disc and selling them. I mean, you see, what are the biggest names in disc golf? You got Paul Macbeth,
Paul, Simon,
Simon,
AB,
AB, Calvin,
Kristin.
You come up with a King Climo disc. It kind of shoots right up to the top, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say this is very similar across the board, whether you're actually playing or not playing. If Climo, went and talked to Innova and said, "Hey, I want to be more involved," and Innova was like, "You know what? Yes, let's do it." And Innova did almost a full kind of marketing plan around Climo, got some new plastic, did all, content, did everything around there. That would be very, very valuable. Very, very valuable. Now, him leaving and doing it brand new with someone else, I think that's 2 to 3x. And I think that's pretty standard across the board for anyone. Yuli, if you left Discraft and you went to Innova or Discmania or Latitude or anything, also that would be a bigger splash than you staying with Discraft. It's just the fact. I mean, now long-term wise,
it might slow down.
Yuli 5 years at Latitude, is that going to be as strong as Yuli staying with Discraft 5 years? I don't know. Probably, maybe not. But the initial splash, it's going to be pretty massive.
Yes.
Pretty massive. So we will stay on that. King Climo also in the news too. I made a video about this over on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. We've also talked about this on the podcast before, that there's these parody accounts on X that are doing the things you're not supposed to do, which is actually try to convince people that you're the actual account. Parody accounts, completely fine. And people can get pissed off and be mad that there are parody accounts, but they are completely fine. You just have to say you're a parody account. You can't actually try to convince people you're not.
Yeah, it's illegal.
And so King Climo has gotten tired of it. And I'll say this. I said this on the last podcast. The one parody account that he kind of brings up is the one that I think is like the most popular. And this is the one that kind of, outed himself with that photo, with his reflection in the photo. He had something going for him because the guy is actually very good with memes. The person behind the account, very good with memes, posts topical things, has funny stuff. He had something going for him. All he had to do was literally put parody in it. And I'm completely fine with it. I think it's a great account. But with that being said, if him not making a parody account has led us to the champ being on X, then I think that's a big win for everyone. So hats off to you, sir, because King Climo posted this video, and I think this is one of the better disc golf videos I've seen in a while. Do they have sound? Oh, there's no sound at all. Okay, well, I'll talk about it then. So essentially it's a video of him in his trophy room saying, if you need any more proof that I'm the real King Climo, here are my 12 world championship trophies. Here are my blah, blah, blah world trophies, all this stuff. He shows his whole trophy case. So now how active will he be on X? Probably not active at all. But the fact that he has an account now, we might see some tweets here and there. And so tip of the hat to the King Climo parody account that tried to convince people that he was actually King Climo, forgetting the King Climo actually on X. And if you want to follow him over there, his X account is the real King Climo. So give him a follow. Go give him a follow over there. And he's got an emoji of his avatar as well. So go give him a follow over on the X there. All right, let's change gears. Let's talk player of the year. So we talked a little bit about the rollout and how dumb I think the rollout is that the Disc Golf Pro Tour does for these awards, that the player of the year wasn't rolled out at the same time. I don't know if that's for like drum roll effect or something. I don't know. But we went over all the awards last episode, but player of the year was just announced between last week and this week. So we're going to talk about that now. And first thing is Missy Gannon wins the 2024 Disc Golf Pro Tour Player of the Year. Thoughts, Yuli?
It was close. It was really close. When I look at it, it was tough because I would think that when I first looked at it, I would think that Kristin had the edge, right?
Well,
But
you want to throw the stats up, or do you?
Yeah.
No, you talk it out first. You talk it out, and then we'll have
okay.
size those stats out.
That was my first thought. I thought that Kristin had the edge,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of threw my sports hat on, and I thought about other sports and MVPs and things like that. And in other sports, typically a guy can win MVP and it's tough to give him the MVP again. They just give it to somebody else. Like I think about like a Russell Westbrook. I think about a James Harden. And so that happens in other sports to where for some reason you're like, wait, the guy won the MVP last year, had a better season this year, and then you gave it to James Harden.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does that make sense? And then I got to looking at the stats a little more, and I was looking at just the weighted tournaments, the ones that were won.
Mm.
And that's where I think that Missy kind of did have the edge because she won a lot of big tournaments. Okay.
Mm.
She won a major, and then she won the Pro Tour finale and won the points. I mean, at that point, I have to give Missy the edge because not only did she have the points, which means you have the best season
mm-hmm.
on the Pro Tour, then you win the finale,
mm-hmm.
and that's the biggest tournament, the season finale, and the major, and you earn your strokes to get a little edge in the Pro Tour finale.
Sure.
So it's not like, oh, yeah, well, she got an extra stroke. Yeah, you earn that stroke for being the best player through the whole entire season. Kristin missed some tournaments,
mm-hmm.
but that's neither here nor there. If
no,
you don't play at all,
yeah,
you can't fault.
Yep.
You got to play him.
Yep.
You got to play him. And so when I look at that, I have no problem with it, and I think Missy deserved it. And I think it was really close, and I wouldn't have been mad if Kristin won.
Okay, so first things first, I didn't actually know how the voting was weighted. So media vote. So there's a couple people. I think there's like 15 to 12 people out there that have a media vote. That is going to be 33% of the weight of the overall vote. Then you have the Disc Golf Pro Tour World Standings, which is 33% of the weight as well. And then you have the tour card holder vote, which is me and you, right? And that is 33% of the vote. So let's pull up the stats and kind of, now that we see the voting, and I'm going to talk a little bit what I think needs to happen here. Because looking at this, obviously we got to look at majors, right? That's a big one. I think this actually was a little bit more of a three-headed race, more than most people are saying. Obviously, everyone's saying Kristin and Missy. I think Evelina is definitely in there.
Absolutely.
Because Evelina won 2 majors, right? She won 2 of the 4 majors. They obviously do not count Throw Pink as a major, so that is not in here. But Evelina did win 2 of the majors. Also won 2 events as well. Now, Kristin won 5 overall events. Missy won 5 overall events too. And like you said, Missy ended up first in the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings. Average finish, I do like looking kind of at the average finish because that just kind of gives you an idea of how well they played consistently throughout the season. No one's close to Kristin, 2.6, right? However, she did play less tournaments, so I guess you could say there were less opportunities of her having an outlier tournament in there. Average event rating, don't care about that stat. Get rid of that. That means nothing to me. Worst finish isn't terrible, but that also plays into the average finish, so I don't even need to look at that really. And podium finishes. Now, I think podium finishes, top 10 finishes, those are the other 2 things I would like to look at. Podium, Kristin went 12 of 15. Top 10, 15 of 15, right? This is where I think Evelina kind of falls out. Evelina only podiumed at 47% of the events she went to, right? Now, she did top 10, 16 out of the 17, but we know in the FPO field, the field's not super deep. So a top 10 still isn't, I would say, that impressive just because of the field strength and how many players are actually in there. So podium or top fives, if you will, I probably would look more at a top 5 than a podium. I think that tells more of the story. And that's the same thing here with Missy. Missy went 9 of 22 and 20 of 22 with the top 10s. Overall earnings, could care less about that as well, because some tournaments you get paid out way more for no reason other than they were able to bring in bigger sponsors. That has nothing to do with field strength. That has nothing to do with quality of wins. So not really interested about that. To me, looking at it, who had the better season? They both had 5 wins. They both had 1 major. I think just Kristin was more consistent throughout the season. So that's where I would lean to, giving it to Kristin. And this is where we're going to talk about why I think the voting system is actually messed up. And hopefully someone...
Hold on one second.
Yeah,
because
go for it.
I have another point that I want to make as well.
Of course.
MVP coming down the stretch, they were close. And it was a super important tournament, the last one of the season.
Sure.
Guess what happened?
Missy
won. Clutched up and threw the shot onto the island. You have to wait something like that, because when it's so close, it's literally, she misses that island, she doesn't win the Pro Tour points, right? She's the one that hit the island. And little moments like that make great seasons.
Yep. I don't hate it. You're going more like the college football. Like, it's way better to lose in the beginning of the season than lose late in the season.
Well, yeah, because the pressure's on the line, and it's at the end of the season where it's all laid out there. You know what you have to do, and the better player in this situation at that time came through and won the Pro Tour points, and a very important spot. Consistency, I'm with you, man. I'm a huge supporter of consistency. Calvin had that consistent season, and he ended up winning that Player of the Year. But I don't think we had a big moment come down the stretch with Calvin. You know what I mean? And in this case, we did, to where we got to see the two people going at each other down the stretch. Last hole, Missy came on top.
Yeah, and that's where I do think it is closer. I think between those two, it is closer, right? I think that's where Evelina kind of falls out.
Yeah.
Because Evelina wasn't really in the equation late in the season, like you're saying. And I'm with you. I think one side can look at it. It's the Calvin side. They had a super consistent season. Or you can go your side. They had the big flashy wins kind of towards the end. Now, I will say this. I would love to see some of this change, because Kristin finished first in media vote, right? She won the media vote. Kristin also finished first in the tour card holder votes. So both the media members and both the tour card members thought Kristin should be overall the winner, right? They both gave her first place votes. Kristin finished third in the Disc Golf Pro Tour point standings. Okay? So with that, Missy Gannon finished second in the media vote and also finished second in the tour card holder votes. So this was a question that was brought in. They said, the Disc Golf Pro Tour has clearly shown its priority with the Player of the Year. 7 of the 8 awards have gone to the points leader since it started. Will we ever see a Player of the Year who isn't points leader again? So this is what I think should happen, because basically what needed to happen, because both the media and the players thought Kristin was Player of the Year. So what should have happened, though, because for those that don't know, when you were voting on this, I think we vote for our top 3, if I remember correctly. Was it 3, Silas? Is it 3 or 5?
It's 3.
Is it 3 people?
I think it's 3.
Okay. So we have to put, so when I voted, I had to put Kristin 1, Missy 2, Evelina 3. If I really wanted Kristin to win, what I should have done is Kristin 1 and then 2 random people, and not giving those points to Missy. And so that's where I think the voting system right now is kind of flawed, because both the tour card holders and the media vote. 66% of the vote thought Kristin should be the winner. So moving forward, how it should be is you just get one vote, Yuli. You get one vote, and that's it. Because the way they have it set up right now, it's just not a good setup. I mean, someone maybe can correct me on why it's better than the one I'm giving, but to me, I think if you put Kristin as the one spot and you go off of points there, right? Does Missy still fall in the 2 spot for tour card holder votes and media votes, or does Evelina get in there a little bit? I don't know. Maybe Missy doesn't even get any votes for tour card holder vote. I don't know. To me, like that's just I think that's where it's a flawed system a little bit of both media and tour gave it to Kristin, and what they should have done is they should have tanked Missy if they wanted her to win. And maybe I don't know. Maybe that's I don't know.
Yeah, and I think
Any
that
thoughts
kind
on
of
that?
takes my. I think that kind of takes my theory of the whole "we're just gonna give it to somebody new" theory too.
Yeah, there's
Because of
that
the way
too.
that there's no like recency bias there. Obviously, everybody voted for Kristin. So it kind of takes my theory kind of out of there with the other sports.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I also don't think we need to have like I would love to see it without any like without a statistic waiting in.
Sure. I also think it's strange because in other sports, the media will really push a narrative, and you'll have a bunch of talk shows talking about it all week, and whoever's watching that, there's debates watching that talk show, and there's debates on the talk show of who wins, and they can really like kind of shift through the mud and give good opinions that I don't think people think of like right away. Like my theory of, hey, this is why I think Missy deserved it. You know what I mean? Because of these moments type thing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And we don't have that in our sport, to where in sports, I really do believe it comes down to moments, you know?
Well,
And
it's harder for us to do it here because
yeah,
Kristin and Missy are playing against
sure.
each other. So it's more black and white. It's a lot like the Heisman in college football. The two guys that are right now at the top, they don't play each other. And even if they
Yeah.
did play each other, they're not playing against each other, they're playing different positions. So there is a lot more of that talk that you can have because you don't know. Like you don't know what, you know.
You
It's
still have it in like traditional golf with Scotty Scheffler and let's say Roy McIlroy or something, and you have these
just
debates
less
with
is what I'm
people.
saying. Football
Yeah,
is a lot more.
it's left and all I'm saying is I wish there was more. I wish there was more talk and more shows to where there more opinions can get out there, and there can be more of a debate to kind of sift through the stuff and really and have good analysts like give you reasons why, and then people can side with those reasons who aren't out there and who aren't watching it every single day. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, more media around disc golf is a good thing, and we're seeing some pretty good things actually. I mean, obviously, I'm a little biased, but I think what we're doing over here at Foundation is great. I think the disc golf world is doing a phenomenal job too on their
Absolutely.
YouTube side of being able to give out a lot of information on a weekly basis. So we're starting to see it more media come through. I mean, Smashbox has been around for a while. If you want more of like the OG thoughts on things as well, it's just obviously for it to make sense too for a lot of people. I mean, you know, like you got to either be super super passionate about it or it's got to be makes financially makes sense for you. So
I would also like the Pro Tour to have like a show like that, you know, where there's a studio and they're dressed up and there's a couple analysts going over some things and stuff, some highlights and what's going on, and you know, two non-biased opinions just having their opinions, and you know, it's analysis
yeah,
of their
no,
feelings, and
yeah,
something we don't have and that I really love about other sports. Like I listen to First Take. I listen to Colin Howard on the Herd. Those are like my favorite shows because their opinions matter to me because they're great analysts and they give you different opinions and they know sports and they've done it their whole lives kind of thing. And it brings in points that I just don't even think of, just being like your typical guy who likes to watch the Sunday football and root for my fantasy players, you know what I mean? And then gives you a little more in-depth analysis on what's really going on and great opinions of players.
Yeah, absolutely. Gannon Buhr, shocker. He won the player of the year. That's kind of no surprising. I mean, you look at the stats here. 2 majors. Only other person really in the running that won a major was Isaac Robinson. He won 7 Elite Series victories. Only other person close to that was AB, but most of those were towards the beginning of the season. First in the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings, lowest average finish by quite a margin. I mean, him and Ricky kind of separated themselves from the rest of the guys on here. And then you look at podium finishes, him and Ricky both over 50% with podium finishes. Top 10s, he only missed 1 top 10 all season. Ricky missed 4.
That's a wild stat.
Yeah, it's crazy. Ricky missed 4. So kind of a no-brainer there with Gannon and how he played last season. One of the best seasons we've ever seen. All right, New London update. So I think after this past World Championship, I think a lot of people really enjoyed watching the course. I mean, obviously we have a pretty big fan base that watches the Foundation YouTube videos, and those guys are out there, Hunter and Trevor out there playing that course quite often. So I think even going into Worlds, there was already kind of a lot of people that really, really enjoy the course. Obviously, Paul McBeth's name is attached to anything. That's going to bring a lot of weight as well. And so when this news came out that a grant had been given to Bedford County to basically expand that New London Business and Technology Center. When you go into when you go into New London, you see all those big warehouses as you drive back in there. They're trying to expand that further back, so that's going to get kind of pushed further back into what is New London right now. So initially, what we had heard was only the back 9 was really going to be affected, and most of the front 9 was going to stay. Well, now we have a little bit more information. So Paul McBeth has, there was an article that kind of came out in Bedford County or in a Bedford County newspaper that was kind of talking about this. Paul made a comment in it talking about the challenges that are going to be faced for the redesign. He says the new land is unique. It's a lot more elevated than the previous course. So there are a lot of cool aspects in that sense, but there's a lot more woods and we have to navigate through compared to what we previously did. So there might be a little bit more tree knocking down. They might be knocking down a lot more trees than expected, right?
Okay.
Now, the holes that are going to remain, holes 8 through 12 are going to stay the same. So if you remember, hole 6 is that really, really tough par 5. Hole 7 is the easy par 5. Then hole 8 was that kind of technical par 4 up the hill. Mm-hmm. Hole 9 is that super long par 5 that's out in the middle of the open with all the power lines. Hole 10 is that little par 3 on the elevated basket. Hole 11 is one of my favorite holes in all of disc golf. That little par 4 where the second shot is in that narrow tunnel with all those little tiny trees.
Yeah.
And then hole 12 is going to be that kind of flex backhand through the 2 trees to the basket par 3 right there. So those 4 holes will remain the same. Now, those holes will stay. And then holes 4 and 5. So hole 4 is that little par 3, that blind par 3 up the hill. And then hole 5 is the one where you go roller, par 4, you go roller into the hill, or you throw a forehand and then you got to throw over like the little ravine, par 4. Those 2 holes will also remain, but those are going to be pushed to hole 16 and 17. So those will be kind of the finishing holes, and then hole 18 will be somewhere behind hole 17. That's it, Yuli. They're keeping 6 holes. 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16, or 4 and 5. That's it. This is going to be a course that is going to be completely new. That because a lot of those holes too aren't like We're missing hole 6. Hole 6 was a monster. Hole 2, also a monster. Hole 16 was a great forehand hole. Hole 15 was a great little two-shot hole. So they are going to be missing a lot of holes. Now, Paul is going to remain in the redesign. So I think that's a huge plus. The dude knows how to make a good course. And they are still hoping to host the DGPT championship in October next year. But it looks like this is going to be a completely new course.
Yeah, I always worry about people putting in a brand new course for a big tournament. Even if they have the 6 holes, 12 brand new holes, breaking ground, like courses take a while to get beat in.
And it sounds like this is going to be a lot more wooded too.
Yeah, and when it's in the woods, it takes a long time to like trim up and make sure that there's, just breaking ground and making it smooth to where you don't have stumps everywhere when you're walking and little hanging branches here and there. So I hope that's not the case, but that always worries me because time and time again, we've seen this to where, I got a brand new course. It's my favorite place in the world. Like maybe it's a disc golfer who puts his name behind the course. We go there. It's not ready. I think one of those places was Austin this year. Great wooded holes, but there's a couple little things that just didn't really catch my eye. The little stumps on the ground. All of a sudden, you throw a great shot, hits a stump, kicks OB to a out of bounds on the right that's 6 feet away when you threw a great shot. Like there's those little fine things that happen when you're playing big tournaments for big money. Like those strokes matter, and I think that's one of the big problems that I've seen over the years with new courses. I hope that's not the case.
Absolutely. All right, a couple rumors with some of the off-season moves. Like I said, the Disc Golf World has been doing a great job. I think you'll hear me talk a little bit about it in the interview at the end of the show here with Ezra Robinson. But it sounds like there is a mole, Yuli, that is a player. From some of the texts that they have shown, some of the photos and stuff, it sounds like there is a pro on tour that is feeding them information. Again, I'll say this from the very beginning. If you don't want anyone to know what's going on, the manufacturers don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Don't,
a bit quiet.
If I'm manufacturer X and I'm trying to sign someone, I'm not going to say, oh, by the way, we're signing this person this offseason too. It's going to be a huge move, right? I'm not telling them anyone. And then if you're a player and you're excited about your contract or you're moving or whatever, you also don't tell anyone. Does anyone know what I'm doing this offseason? The answer is probably no, because I haven't told anyone. So that's where, if you don't want people to know your business, manufacturers don't tell people, players don't tell people. Players also don't go to like a public field throwing your new discs. Like that's, obviously, right? Like it's pretty clear Isaac is not returning to Prodigy.
Yeah.
Right? So if Isaac and whoever this new manufacturer wants to keep it under wraps, don't show up to a field that people are going to throwing all your new discs that you're going to be throwing next year.
And if you do have somebody that you talk to, that person that you talk to, keep your mouth shut. You know what I mean? Like, because then nobody's ever going to tell you something again.
Yeah.
Like in this sport, it's crazy how rumors fly and the word gets out so fast. Like there's certain people that just know everything about everybody.
Yeah. So,
and you know who to trust and you know who not to trust. And I still hear people talking to those people you can't trust. And then the rumor gets around and I already know who talked. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Like you said, just don't tell anybody.
Or tell everyone something different. And so that way,
that's a good way. Yeah. That's
that
a good way.
If you hear the rumor that comes out, you know which one squealed.
Yep.
So the Disc Golf World made a video claiming that rumors that Kyle Klein are leaving Discmania. And again, this is from like some sort of player. This they didn't tell who their source was or anything like that. So that might be an interesting one because he is, I believe, currently in a 4-year deal. I believe he's going into his 3rd year with Discmania. So this would be him leaving a contract early, which would be interesting. So we'll see what goes on there. Also, there are rumors that Isaac Robinson is going to Discmania. Some people love to do this. This is another thing too. If you're a player, I can see how if you want to troll and all that stuff, completely fine. If you're not trolling though, like don't follow the person that you're getting sponsored by on Instagram because people
too early.
People are figuring that one out really quickly. So right now, Isaac Robinson currently follows Discmania on Instagram and doesn't follow any other of the big name players in the manufacturer world. So take that for what you will. But it does sound like January 1st will be a very popping day with announcements from a whole bunch of people. All right, and like I said, if you have any info that you want to share, if you're a player and you want to share stuff and you want a platform, come on the podcast. We'd love to have you on. Love to talk about where you're going and why you made that decision and all this stuff that's coming up. All right,
or just tell your buddy and we'll find out anyway.
Yeah, you can do that too. All right, so this is something Edwin Stats. Shout out to Edwin Stats, legend. We love him. We all love him here at Tour Life. He has put together a full-on 2024 Manufacturers Cup final results. So he's been tracking this throughout the entire season, and this is now, Yuli, the final results. So I'm going to throw it up there, and we can kind of run through it. So here we have it. First place, kind of a no-brainer. Gannon Buhr leading the charge here for Discmania with 645 points. Discraft in a close second, 542. Innova, kind of a big drop off here, over 200 points at 330. Dynamic Disc at 277. Prodigy at 241. Castaplas in 6th place at 111. MVP in 7th. DG in 8th. Thought Space in 9th. And Latitude in 10th place. So now we have this cool little graph here where it shows the players' points and the percent of teams' totals. So we can see just kind of who basically was a big player in their overall points, right? So the guys that are on the far right, these are guys that brought in a whole lot of points for their team. 11 players made up more than 50% of their manufacturer points. These players were Gannon Buhr, Calvin Klein, Isaac Robinson, Joey Buckets, Simon Lizotte, James Proctor, Matty O, Ricky Wysocki, Evan Smith, Mason Ford, and Jakob. Then we have 14 players that earned more than 50 points in 2024. So these are some of the guys that got some points for their teams. Maybe not as many as the other, but Chris Dickerson, Kyle Klein, Paul Macbeth, AB, Ezra Robinson, and Niklas. And then some guys that really didn't gain their team all that many points. Gooseman actually was kind of close to the 50-point barrier, but Eagle, Alden Harris, and Cole Redalin also on this list. So now we're looking, I love this. Now he's going on to look at contracts expiring at the end of the 2024 season. So now we kind of see where some points could end up leaving teams, right? So we see AB, Ezra Robinson, Isaac Robinson, obviously another big one. James Proctor, but talking to James Proctor, it sounded like he was very happy. It didn't sound like he was making any crazy moves. And then some other big ones. Mason, Mason, what's he doing? Jakob, Cole Redalin is up. Evan Smith. So a lot of people that actually gave their team a lot of points, currently all on end of their contract here. This next graph also kind of breaks it down to kind of show the percentage of players with expiring contracts. So, for example, like Discmania, Silas and Casey White, they were 1% of Discmania points, right? Discraft, over 50% of Discraft points are on expiring contracts right now. Presnell, Coriolis, Ezra, AB. The next biggest one, 91% Prodigy. That's Isaac and Ezra, both brothers. Probably both gone. Another huge one, DGA with Cole, Marweed, Sullivan. So kind of cool little graph there to kind of show where points might be moving and grooving if players finish. I do have a really interesting talk with Ezra about my thoughts on how disc golf should be moving forward on the professional side, Yuli. And I think you'll like this. I think I've come full circle. I think, and you'll hear me kind of maybe talk this out a little bit more later with Ezra. I think disc golf pro side needs to go all in on the team aspect of disc golf and the manufacturer as the team side of disc golf.
Full circle. You've been against this for a long time.
Yes, but the reason why I've switched, I've only switched if they go all in on it, the Yuli. I'm not
Okay.
where disc golf is right now. I'm still against it. But if they go all in on it, I think that actually might be the best for disc golf. And here's the reason why. Me coming from being an outsider, coming into the disc golf world late into my career after playing over a decade of team sports, I did not understand the landscape that is disc golf. It made no sense to me. Why the heck do people care if a player is throwing this plastic versus this plastic? Why are people so loyal to this company versus this company? And it dawned on me that right now, disc golf doesn't really have the juice. Everyone's pretty friendly with everyone. There's not really any rivalries. Me and Ezra talk about it a little bit. Like the biggest rivalry right now on the men's side of things is Gannon and Ricky. But Gannon's like rooting for good shots. Gannon likes watching good disc golf. There's no really animosity there. We just had rivalry week in college football. One of the biggest weekends in all of sports. We saw 5 fights at the end of the games. These are teams that do not like each other. And watching these games are very interesting. So instead of getting people to try to tune in to see who's going to win, is it going to be Gannon? Is it going to be Ricky? You know what's more enticing than that? Who's going to win? Is it going to be Discraft or Innova? Is it going to be Discmania? Is it going to be MVP? That's enticing. You don't really, I mean, there's a couple people, myself, Nico, I think Gannon might be in there too, of where people are on both sides of the fence, right? Some people like him, some people don't like him. A majority of players, people are pretty much indifferent. They either like you or they don't really care. And when it comes to the manufacturer side, people are diehard Discraft, diehard Innova, diehard MVP. So what if we all of a sudden just made a manufacturer cup? Nothing would change. All the tournaments would play the same. But now, Yuli, I'm actually not rooting for you because you're my friend. I'm rooting for you because last year we were on the same team. And if you do well, you're my teammate. And we're playing for something. We're fighting for something. To me, I think that has some real legs.
I think you're onto something. I like the way you explain it. I like the whole thing. I wish we've been saying this for years, a manufacturing cup where you take the teams and you go against each other. I mean, that's pretty big stuff right there.
So nothing would change. By the way, nothing would change.
Yep.
We would all show up to the tournament. Let's include a major in there. We would all show up to a major. The winner would still be the major champion. However, now every team, every manufacturer, let's say every team has let's say 7 people. They have 7 people. And 5 of those 7 people score for your team. So now, looking back at last year when I'm in 90th place and I'm sitting at the Airbnb and Ezra comes in and he's top 10, or Goose comes in, he's top 10, and they're super stoked. Great, awesome. I'm pissed. I'm in 90th place. But now in this format, I'm rooting for these guys because I have an invested interest. Because I'm going to be honest with you, there is a facade. There is a facade, Yuli, because the biggest fish are the ones that eat the most. If you're the top dog at your sponsor, you're in the best position. Even if you're the 10th best player in the world, if you're the top dog at your sponsor, that is better than being the 10th best player in the world and the 4th dog at your sponsor. That's just facts. Now, there is a facade that people try to say, like, well, you're on the same team. You want them to do well. You want them. No. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. But if we actually made it a team sport, I could see it happen. I
mean, we've gone back and forth on this because I do have pushback. In our sport, the guys win the tournament, the manufacturer becomes more popular, you sell more discs. If you're the 4th guy, period. Just the way that it works. And there's not argument with it. Now, if you're the lowest guy,
doesn't that person just sell more discs though?
Hey, listen, if, for example, Paul Macbeth doesn't have 6 world titles and he's not on Team Discraft, do you sell more discs, Brody? No.
Say that one more time. Say it one more time.
If Macbeth's not on Team Discraft, okay, and you come over to Discraft, do you think you sell more or less? You sell less. And there's no argument saying otherwise because he's made the manufacturer so popular that there's more eyes on it anyway.
I would agree with you there in the short run.
In the short run, yeah. I mean, then you get established or whatever and you can become bigger, of course. But then guess what? You becoming bigger makes the next guy down below more money because you bring more eyes to the thing. Somebody comes to buy your stuff. They go on the website. They have to scroll by my name. They might click, what's this?
No, I'm with you there. My argument was if you're like the 4th best player on your sponsor, you probably, and again, I see what you're saying. If you're the 4th best player and you go to a company that sucks and no one likes it and you're not able to do anything about it, like you're not very popular at all, you're probably going to get crushed. I'm with you there.
Yep.
But if you're the 4th best player and you're pretty popular and you go to a team and now it's all only you're probably going to do very well.
You'll do well, but you won't.
Oh, here we go. This is perfect. Do you think James Conrad got more sales than he did when it was just him? No. I see that's
what do you mean? Got more sales?
I think James Conrad sold more discs when it was just him at MVP versus now when it's Simon and Eagle, because the purchasing power is going to Simon and Eagle and not James. See, like that example,
I think
that's
I'll push back on that. If James Conrad kept winning world titles, Simon and them come over, they all make more money because they're all playing good. And
I think in some scenarios it doesn't always work out that way, though.
Well, for example, I obviously have a big bias because I'm the team captain of Discraft, and you know this, that I push team spirit in,
of course,
which I always have.
Of course.
I do believe because of the way that I captain, I've made the team more money. For sure. Because I push that.
No, I'm not doubting that.
And there's something to that. Now, I don't know if other teams do it or whatever, but all I'm looking at even if it's 1%, that's huge. Even if it's 1%, that's a more percentage than the other teams. Okay? That's why it's not the only reason. I'm not saying that. But I do think there's a little push there, and that's why other people want to come to our team because we're all happy and it's a happy place. It really is. We have let's say, what's the word I'm looking for? We have you come to a place and it has a
aura,
the way that it's run. Or I'm looking for a better word than that, but we have we'll just go with or about Team Discraft, that people want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they want to be there? Because it's successful. Why is it successful? Because of everybody having the same goals. I believe that. Not only that, but we also have great players that come here. And why do they come here? Because they want to be on the team that sells the most discs, that make the most money.
But I think a lot of that has to do with Discraft itself.
Oh, 100%.
And
but
you'll hear.
That's something that I was fed when I came to the company.
But I think that can exist whether there's a team aspect or not. Like, I think a lot of it has to do with like the professionalism, and we talk a little bit about this with Ezra.
For sure.
But when I first came into the sport, right? I had at that point in time, this was in 2020 when I first was starting to talk to companies. I had at that point, I think, done probably 8 years of brand deals. So like sponsorship deals, which is essentially what I'm doing, what I did with Discraft, and essentially the same thing. I'm doing a sponsorship deal. Someone is paying me money to promote their product. I've had 8 years of experience doing that. I was shocked with some of the correspondence I had with companies. Super unprofessional, to the point of where if those companies would have reached out to me, like just blind reach out to me, I don't think my agent would have responded at all. My agent would be like, this is not worth my time to even respond to this. So I think that's a huge thing. And that's where it's just like, I don't view that hand in hand with the team aspect. I think you can be run really professionally and do the right things, promote your players, do all those things without having this idea that, hey, we're all on the same team, we should be rooting for each other. I don't think those two things go hand in hand. I don't
think it's rooting for the guy to beat you. I don't think that. I think it's rooting. Hey, if I lose, I'd rather somebody on Team Discraft win the World Championships without a doubt. Without a doubt. Now, if I have a friend and somebody who's on another team, which I have those. Of course, they win. I'm not pissed. But I would rather somebody on Team Discraft win because I know that directly affects the sales at my company. Even if it's a small percentage.
In an indirect way. But here, my point is essentially, if we want to go that route, Yuli, just literally make it to where there's a $5 million manufacturer cup. And
I'm with you.
And if the team that wins at the end of the year, they get $4 million of that. And of that $4 million, they're splitting $2 million of it with their players. So each player gets like $200,000, or maybe it's tiered based off of how where they finished or whatever, right? In that aspect, then I'm all on board because now we're playing for something. Now we're fighting for something. I see what you're saying. Like, clearly here's the thing. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this: could it possibly hurt? Is there some way where that would hurt? Of being like, okay, I want somebody on my team to win this weekend. Could that possibly hurt your team? In no way.
Wait, what do you mean?
So like I get let's say you don't care who wins. You're playing for yourself. You're sponsored by the same, but you're not on a team. That's like the way that you think. Okay.
Okay.
And then there's somebody who thinks, okay, I'm not going to win, but I'd rather somebody on Discraft win.
The $4 million would be coming from the manufacturers themselves. Continue though. Go ahead.
Okay. What side would benefit more? Or is it just doesn't matter? Doesn't matter. I think that somebody winning on your team, even if it's the smallest percentage, there has to be a better way.
Okay, so again, this is why I'm just saying I'm agreeing with you now because in the other realm, right? If you're the top dog, because let's go out into the other realm, because this is where I think disc golf is separate from other sports. If you're the top dog signed to Nike, okay, you've got the biggest contract, you're the biggest name that Nike has. You don't want someone from another sport or even your sport to all of a sudden be way more successful than you.
No, I see that.
Right?
For sure.
Because now you're dropping down
the money is so much different.
You're dropping down the totem pole.
Mm-hmm.
Disc golf, I'm agreeing with you that it is different because me signing to Discraft, right? Maybe people were like, oh, I didn't even know who Yuli was because they followed me. They don't follow disc golf. Now I'm signing with Discraft. This is what I'm throwing. They run into you. And now they're like, oh, I want to buy your disc. I agree. There is trickle-down effect like that. I don't see that in other sports.
No, I don't either. No, I agree with that for sure.
And also they probably don't want that in other sports again, right? Everyone wants to be the top dog. But what I'm saying is, since that does exist in disc golf, let's just go all in on it and make it more a team sport then, to where also this also would get really, this is the other thing I brought up. Imagine how interesting the interviews, like pre-tournament interviews would be, right? Well, let's say you stay as a team captain for Discraft, right? And Discraft has 10 players, but you can only play 7. That would be a fascinating information. Yuli, why did you decide to go with this person? And now we have storylines where right now, like a lot of these pre-tournament things, like people all say the same stuff. It's really boring. Nothing really there. So I don't know. To me, I think going all in on this, nothing changes, right? But there would be more of a team aspect to where you don't. Right now, we get a lot of clicks, right? Someone wins at the end of the tournament, right? What happens? You see all their friends run on and cheer and all that stuff. And that's fine. We see that in golf. We see that in other individual sports as well that are individual. But we're kind of in this weird limbo land where we're not really individual. We're trying to be a team sport, or at least that's what's being fed to us by all these manufacturers, that we are a team. Come to our team dinner. Come to this team party. Come do all these things. To where now, at the end of a tournament, I don't have to, because that's the other thing. There are people on Discraft from this past season that I didn't really get along with. I mean, that's no secret. But if you're a part of a team, you got to figure it out. You got to figure out how do we get by this to be successful as a team. I've played on many teams where people didn't like who I was, and I didn't really care for who they were. But when it came to the field, we set that aside and we had a goal. This is a little bit different because right now, what you're telling me right now is the goal is to sell more Frisbees. I'm not a businessman though, Yuli. I'm trying to play disc golf. That's where it's too weird, right? You see what I'm saying? Like the team side is just about the financial business side.
That's how you make money, period. Each individual player, you sell more discs, you make money.
But again,
there's
like
no getting around that in disc golf right now.
But if you went the team route, it could be different.
Oh, I love it.
It could be different. It wouldn't be about trying to sell more discs than the other people that are on your team, right? Because if you go and you win the big thing at the end, you're getting a fat check. And also, Discraft is going to probably pay you a lot if they like you and they think you give them a best chance to win. I don't know. I love this idea. I love this idea a lot. The more I think about it, the more I like it.
No, I like it too. I do.
So we'll see what happens. It's just I don't think and again, this is me thinking, how do you get disc golf more interesting, right? It's all we've been hearing the last couple of weeks is disc golf is dying. The interest in disc golf, not people are wanting. And I see people saying, make it free on YouTube. I see people saying that. You still have to create people to sit down and watch it. You still have, whether it's free or not, you still have to somehow have a product that is interesting enough for people to sit down and want to watch it. And to me, Discraft versus Innova, throw Discmania in there, throw MVP in there. That is a way bigger spectacle than Ricky versus Gannon. Calvin versus Ezra Robinson, Isaac Robinson. Like people are going to be die hard. And that's the other thing. People People have to draw a line in the sand. They got to figure out what team they're going to be rooting for.
And there's a lot of people who already do that.
Correct, and it's not a team.
Yep.
So,
It is a team.
yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I kind of thought about that. You'll hear more of this too on the off season. That was just something that kind of popped in my head, and it's like, man, I just kind of came full circle there because I'm super anti-team currently right now because it's an individual sport. Okay, couple listener questions to end us off, and then we'll jump into the Ezra Robinson interview here. So first one says, how far does the average disc golf pro tour player throw in competition? My buddy and I were having this debate. My estimation is that most pros only throw about 550 in actual tournament play, but he pointed out Eagle's 750-foot PDX shot and said that there are guys that throw consistently 700 feet. Yuli.
No, nobody throws consistently 700 feet. Absolutely not. I think if you were to break down the average golf shot on the tour, I would say you're right around 500 feet. 520.
I would say I'd go lower.
Maybe even less.
I'd say 475. Average?
Yeah, like average, yeah.
Yeah, of the 120 people that are playing in the event?
Yeah, because some of them are throwing farther and some of them are throwing shorter. But I think
the majority of people on tour throw less than 500 feet.
Yeah, but some of them throw like a lot farther. Like, I don't know what you mean by average. Like, let's say there's a hole that's 500 feet. I think the majority of people are reaching that hole.
No.
Yeah.
It would have to be an open hole. It would also have to be.
I'm saying if it's a wide open, Brody, 500-foot hole.
Sure.
No obstacles.
Where you can
you're
move the
getting
disc.
A lot of birdies on there.
Where you can move the disc.
Yeah. Now a golf shot, like, okay, you're tight. There's OB right, OB left. You're bringing that puppy back to 470, 450, maybe.
Yeah, because the thing I'm thinking about is think about DDO hole 1, right? Where there's OB left and OB right. There's very few holes that we don't play that we play that just don't have. I mean, Preserve might be one of the last courses that it's like just throw wherever you want. Like hole 1, the average distance on hole 1 is not over 500 feet at DDO. No shot.
It's downhill, so yeah, it is. But
no, there's no way. People are still throwing those hyzers and stuff. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Like if we go to an open field and you're like, hey, throw your far shot, the average is definitely over.
Accurately.
I think accurately is. I think you'd be surprised. I think if you're going full 120 people, I think you'd be surprised. I think it'd be between
because here
450 and 475.
I'm not just taking this from nothing. I'm going to use myself as an example. If it's 500 feet, nothing in the way, perfectly flat, I'm getting looks at a 500, and I'm the shortest guy on tour. I'm getting looks at that hole for sure.
Consistently.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to step up to a 500-foot hole with nothing in the way, no wind, no nothing, and throw an errant shot. That doesn't.
No. But I'm saying I think sometimes you might be 40 feet short. You might be 30 feet short.
Yeah. But I'm the shortest guy on tour.
I don't think you're the shortest guy on tour.
Who's shorter?
Okay, hold on. Let's call some people out.
Yeah, I think that I'm like the gatekeeper, dude. There's the only people that come to mind are like Evan Scott.
Let's call some people out. Here we go. Let's call it the noodle arms. I don't think you realize how many people. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to do this. PDGA. Let's go Waco. Let's just go one of the first tournaments. So PDGA Waco. I think that was the plus event. Yeah, this is a plus event. Perfect. All right, here we go. We're calling people out.
Yep.
Humphreys does not throw farther than you.
He does. Yes, he does.
Not by much.
Not by much, but he does.
Mason Ford.
Farther.
By a lot, or are you guys about the same?
No, he throws farther. I played with the guy. He definitely throws farther.
Okay. Barsby.
No.
Okay. Casey White.
Farther.
Jakob.
Farther.
I mean, not by a lot, though, Yuli. These guys have to be throwing 10 to 15 feet farther than you.
They're throwing farther, man.
By 10 feet, not by a lot. Kale
470
LaVisca.
turns into 480.
Kale doesn't
That's a
count.
20-footer.
Kale doesn't count because he doesn't tour. Presnell.
No. We're about the same, I'd say.
Matt Bell.
No.
Andrew Fish.
He bombs. Yeah, I think he's probably throwing it farther than me.
Let's see. Grady Shoot. Oh, Grady Shoot throws far. Nathan Queen. No. Andrew Marweed.
He might throw farther than me.
Evan Smith.
Yeah, farther.
AJ Carey.
Farther. Now you're just embarrassing me. I already said it.
I don't think Clay Edwards. Justin Rozak. Nate
Farther.
Hecker. Nate throws far.
So does
let's see
Rozak.
here. Paul Kranz does not throw farther than you.
He might.
Ben Wolf doesn't throw farther than you. Those forehands.
That guy might throw a tomahawk farther than me.
Silver's Lot does not throw backhands farther than you. Noah
He throws
Meitzma.
sidearm farther.
Noah Meitzma.
Farther.
Let's see here. Mason Marchbanks. Andrew Miranda.
Farther.
Nick Newton. Tim Barham. Connor O'Reilly. Nicholas Duran. Anthony Bondanza. Trevin Crow.
Now you're going to like the very bottom.
I'm saying though, these guys are all playing.
Those guys aren't on tour.
No, yes they are. These guys are playing.
They play.
Who?
You're talking.
Who?
You're talking. I'm
Who?
talking about people who tour full time, right?
All these guys are playing in tournaments. These guys are playing in tournaments. What do you want me to do?
You know what I want you to do. Just because you're going to talk faster doesn't make it different.
No, these guys are playing. Trevin Crow played in. Let's see. Trevin Crow played in like 30 tournaments.
Yeah, and he throws farther than me.
I think you would be surprised. I think
I
think it's sub 500.
You could do a poll on who throws the farthest and put my name up there, and I might win the thing as the lowest thrower on tour. I'm not kidding.
Silas, throw a poll up right now in chat. Say, what do you think the average distance on tour is?
I think it's 500 feet.
Do 450 to 475.
And
475 to 500, 500 plus.
Is there context with this question? Like how about this? How far should you have to throw to compete? Actually compete?
No, this is the same thing when it comes to golf. It's the same thing. When you watch golf, if you watch golf on TV, they're telling you that these guys are driving the ball 330, 350 yards. Why are they doing that? Because their fairways are cut like greens and they're getting 40, 50 yards a roll.
Yeah.
And the thing that they don't tell you in pro golf, so like when you're growing up, you think that all these people are throwing insanely far or hitting the ball insanely far. And then when you actually play with them, you're like, oh, they're not hitting that ball that far. You have to look at carry distance. Carry distance is the number that you want to look at. How far the ball goes off their club and hits the ground. Because everyone's carry distance travels. But if I'm playing fairways where I'm only getting, I play fairways in golf where sometimes you get like a divot, a ball mark, and your ball's going backwards almost, right? So I think in disc golf, the equivalent is if you're playing on a hole that you're trying to throw an accurate shot, how far are you throwing? And I don't think the majority of people on tour are throwing over 500 feet.
Well, I'll tell you this. I know this for fact. If you were to go at the top 32 guys, because before I got hurt, I was in the top 32. I would have made the finals, I think, pretty easily.
Yes.
I'm for sure.
I would agree with you there.
Barrel,
yes.
Except for maybe Presnell.
Yeah, Presnell's probably, out of the top 32, it's probably you and Presnell. Yes, I'd agree with you.
And I don't throw it far, man.
Yeah, but what they're saying is they're not saying
what's the average.
They're not saying the top 30 guys. What are those things? They're saying the average disc golf pro tour player. So people that are playing in pro tour events.
How about we say have a tour card?
Even then, that's like 85 people. I think that obviously does eliminate a lot of the shorter people. I think then you're probably getting close to 500. I still don't think you're over 500. I mean, I played with Ezra. Ezra throws really, really far. There are some holes that he gets to, and he doesn't throw it over 500 feet.
Yeah.
Like there are that's the other
there's
thing
shot
too.
shapes that handcuff you and stuff, and it's just not smart to throw it that far.
But I'm also saying too, like Yuli, if you go out there and you throw a bad shot, like if you don't get it, not bad shot as OB, but I'm saying your angle's a little off or whatever.
Yeah.
You could lose 30 or 40 feet.
Oh yeah.
And so
yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
sure.
All that, just because Ezra can throw 550 feet, which he can, I've played with him many times. He does. If I look over the course of a round with him and see, he probably averages down closer to 500 though, because sometimes he's going to get 550, but sometimes he's going to mess up his angle a little bit. It's only going to go 475, 480.
Okay, so I misunderstood then.
It's not perfect throws. It's literally.
I'm thinking of like a player. I know I'm on tour. I know how far that person throws.
Yeah, you're saying ceiling. You're saying
in a tournament, what is the average that they're playing in a tournament?
For their full shots, for their full distance shots.
In the round, over the course of like their full shots.
Because I think a lot of people want to know how far do I need to throw to be able to compete.
Okay, so, yeah. Well, then I would say even 440 might be the number.
Yeah, I mean, I was going 450 to 475.
Yeah, like 440, because 475 is hard for me to hit in a tournament on tour.
Consistently.
Like that's like, that's my max. Like I'm getting after it and I have a little room to work the disc,
that's what I was saying. If you even a 500-foot open hole for you, some days you're not going to get a circle one look every single round. Some days you're going to be 40, 50 feet short because your angle was just a little off and you didn't get a full flight.
So I get what you're saying. Yeah, I would even bring it down to like 440. I don't think people really. You look at the top 10 guys, they're pushing it that far, but that's because their 440 shot is actually 500. You know what I mean? Like with let's say Calvin, dude, that guy, can throw Eagle 440 on a dot.
Yeah, Matt May's got it. Playable distance. I think they are less impressive than people think. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as the PGA Tour.
I was saying like potential of the guys on tour, they can rip.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
I think
64 votes are in. 50% say 475 to 500. 42% say 450 to 475, and 7% say 500 plus. Okay. So I think we're all on board now with what we're going with.
But I will say, most of the guys on tour, you get them to a field, they can throw over 500 feet.
Yes, even guys like even a Presnell that probably is one of the shorter top guys. He knows how to throw a disc to get it to go far.
Yes.
He's just not able to do that in a lot of tournament situations. It's not smart for him to do it, to be fair. Either.
No, yeah.
All right, next question. Gambling. When does the Disc Golf Pro Tour Gambling. When Disc Golf Pro Tour took over stats from UDisc, they mentioned gambling or something in their press release. I do remember them actually mentioning that. Do you think that was oh my gosh. Do you think that will ever be possibility, or was that wishful thinking? Yeah, I think gambling 100% is going to be in disc golf at some point.
It better be.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say. It better be. I hope so.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon.
And that's also another thing, like I said, that I don't think initially we'll get a new audience, people that are like unfamiliar with disc golf, because if you love to gamble, you're not gambling on sports you have no idea about and then tuning in to watch that sport. But if you're somewhat familiar with disc golf and you can gamble and you gamble on it, now you're definitely going to probably tune into that sport. So this is where I don't think it's going to bring in outside new numbers, but it will increase the numbers of people paying attention.
I think it's going to be hilarious because I already get people whining at me for messing up their fantasy lineup. Yep. Imagine if I busted up a parlay for $1,000.
Yep. You lose some money on it.
Mm-hmm. Losing some fans probably.
Question here: will you let King Climo announce his new sponsorship on the pod? Absolutely. King Climo is welcome on the pod whenever he wants.
We love King Climo.
If there was an event with only catch discs and ultimate discs being used, other than yourself, who would be on the lead card final round? MPO and FPO. Let's just do MPO because I have no idea about FPO. Who are you picking? So we're throwing ultra stars here.
You know who's really good at catch? Germ. Big Germ.
Oh, I don't hate
Pretty
that.
good.
He's got ultimate background.
And he's got both backhand and he's got the big hands for the. See, one thing that's tough for me with the lid is I have small hands, so the sidearm's really hard
Mm-hmm.
to get leverage down there.
There's two other guys that pop out at me.
I'm going to say Big Germ. I'm trying to think of ultimate guys. I think like Andrew Fish. He has that really frisbee style, even with the disc golf. So
Sure.
I could throw him in there maybe.
Still haven't named the two that I have on there though. Let's see if you can get to them.
Okay. You know who wouldn't be good? I think kind of shots fired at this guy.
Give it to him.
But I don't know how you could with his form. Is Proctor? You know how he gets it super tight? And
Oh yeah, no. He would have to completely
kind
change his throw because you can't. Yeah, you can't throw like that. There's definitely a lot of guys that would have to completely change their. Because you can't pull it close to you. It's a completely different throw.
Yeah, I want to say.
I actually just came up with another one. I got 3 people now.
I think really good putter
I have
throwers
4
have a good
people.
shot. So like Isaac Robinson is
Wasn't on
really
my
good,
list.
but he's got that putter throw dial.
He might be good.
and
yeah.
I think that would be good.
I got 4 more. You want me to start
Paul
listing them?
Macbeth.
Yep, there's 1.
Paul Macbeth for sure.
I got 3 more.
Let me think. The Rick, he's always going to figure out a way.
I mean, he'll probably be good, but not initially, I don't think. Think about one of the best. Think about one of the best putter throwers that we've ever seen.
Conrad.
Yep, James Conrad. I've actually thrown the ultimate disc with him. He's solid. Simon. I think Simon.
Why did I not think of Simon? Of course, Simon.
Simon is really good. And then
what about Gibson's really good at throwing little touch shots? Like he throws a glitch all the time. I don't know.
Kevin Jones. That was my other one.
Kevin Jones.
Because he already loves throwing. Because the thing is, you have to be super comfortable throwing on a crazy amount of hyzer.
Yeah.
You have to throw on a crazy amount of hyzer, and he lives by throwing stuff on hyzer.
I think that the this way and this way is important too.
Yeah. Throwing the forehand would definitely for scrambling purposes, 100%. Forehand would be very, very helpful. But the thing is the Frisbee won't, obviously throwing an Ultra Star, to have a disc go right, you got to throw a backhand.
I did a challenge with a couple ultimate guys a few years back where they use regular disc. I used the Ultra Star.
Yeah.
And I crushed them.
Yeah, it's easier. I would say it's easier going from disc golf to ultimate than it is from ultimate to disc golf.
Yeah.
It's disc golf is like, that's what I'm saying, is like when I had to relearn everything.
Yeah.
You can have somewhat of a serviceable throw, but trying to learn how to throw a disc, like you're basically you have to almost start from scratch.
Yeah.
What you would struggle with is if you actually had to play ultimate Frisbee, where you actually have a defender in front of you. Because now that you're able to throw an Ultra Star close enough to a disc golf disc and be fine, but when you have a defender in front of you, you can't pull through your body, right?
Yeah,
you have to completely have a different throw. So
I don't think I'd be very good at ultimate just because of the sidearm part. I never really liked throwing. I had to throw it with 3 fingers. Like underneath.
And the other thing that you have to learn is your angles. So disc golf, it's all about changing the angle of the disc in your hand or just changing the disc. Ultimate, it's a lot more about changing the level. So you're throwing by your shoulder, you're throwing by your midsection, you're throwing by your hip, you're throwing by your ankles, you're throwing by your knee. You got to be able to throw all those levels, which if you've never tried, that's why we see some people really suck at scrambling. Because they got to throw at this one point.
Yeah.
And if you can't throw at multiple points, you're gonna be pretty bad at ultimate as well. Good question though. That was fun.
Yeah, I think I want to challenge you to an ultimate round of disc golf, like a little short course. Me and you battle it out. I think I got you.
That'd be fun. I mean, the putting is so hard. The putting is one of the hardest parts. But no, that'd be actually that'd be a fun video. All right. Will you make it to Europe for Worlds? Any side travels planned? I think this is for both of us, so you can go ahead and answer that one first.
I right now the goal is to do a big trip with my family out there. So like maybe
fantastic.
four or five tournaments in a row overseas and do the whole European Open and the Worlds. From what I've heard, and I think Sarah and I agree on this, that it's probably pretty important to travel early with Raina, since really easy to take care of her and kind of easy to travel with a newborn. Like this is a short flight, but just coming to Thanksgiving, just an absolute breeze. And
That's
we're so
awesome.
lucky because
Some are good travelers and some are bad.
There was like 3 other babies on the plane and they were nightmares, and ours was, we got a lot of compliments. Which was nice.
That's awesome. Yes, I do have plans going to Europe. Ideally, I believe it'd probably be like the week before the majors and the week after the majors would probably be kind of like the idea. And then hopefully Kelsey can kind of come over. Last time she tried to come over for the European Open, one of our dogs tore his ACL and had to have surgery. So I think she was over there for like a total of like 24 hours and then had to fly back.
Playing some Ultimate, was he?
Yeah. Good way of tearing your ACL right there. Okay. This is a great question for you to finish on here. You can only practice putting from one distance all off season. What distance are you picking?
Depends on what level you are.
Ooh, good one. Okay. Give me AM, give me local pro, and then give me yourself.
Yeah. So AM, go to 20 feet. That's what you practice. Local pro, 28 feet. So not even that much farther, but 28 feet. That's what you got to make in order to play really good. And then for the tour, I would say go to 40 to 42 feet right in there and practice all of those.
Yeah, I was going to say like 35 is kind of my bread and butter. But
I think once you get to 40, then the 35s become a little easier. But you can't just go to 35 and then have a bad putt. It's just a waste of time. You know what I'm saying? Like that, you're just going to be fetching your disc off the ground. Like you have to learn. You have to get really good at 20 feet. Like that's what I did over the last couple of years. Is I got 20 feet dialed.
Yeah, I always say don't move back unless you're making like over 90% of your putts.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you're not going to get any better.
I mean, you can be a witness to this. For me, for like 2 years ago, I couldn't even get my regular putt to just outside the circle. I had to jump it. Like if I were to putt it, it was just awful. I couldn't do it.
You were doing that in the back of that Airbnb, I remember. Where was that at? Discraft had an Airbnb. I think you were actually probably staying in it. And the backyard was pretty big, and we were out there putting for a while together. And
Scottsdale.
I think what?
It was in Scottsdale, I think.
Is that what it was? And this is where you were trying to figure out your putt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, don't go back too soon, guys. That it's similar into basketball, right? Like don't be practicing your 3-point shot if you suck at free throws. Like get your free throws down and then move back to the 3-pointer.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Anything else for the people here, Yuli, before we go to Ezra Robinson's interview?
No, like I said, I think the only thing I got going right now is my Vlogmas. I want people to go
and that
over
tournament
and
coming up. That tournament
and the tournament on this Saturday at Boyd Hill, which is right next to my house. I'm going to be just doing a little charity event for the foundation, and it's going to be a fun time. I haven't checked the weather. I think it's supposed to be good, so come out and enjoy a nice round for a good cause.
Love it. All right, we are going to kick it to myself here as I go in deep with Ezra Robinson about what he has going on this offseason. Guys, enjoy that. We appreciate you listening. We'll see you guys next week. All right, folks, we are now joined with Ezra Robinson here. Ezra, how's it going?
It's going really well. Been a good offseason so far, settling back at home and getting some good practice in. So, yeah.
Yeah, appreciate you jumping on here kind of short notice, but your name kind of popped up in some rumor mills. So obviously we got to get you on here see if we can set the record straight. But before, how was the Thanksgiving? You guys are a disc golf family, so I'm assuming you got some disc golf in.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it was great. Was able to get majority of the family there. Unfortunately, Isaac wasn't there with us because he was in Puerto Rico with his new wife. So
Oh,
he missed
snap.
it. But yeah, everybody else had a great time, ate some great food, played some good disc golf. So
Is there a specific course that you guys play every Thanksgiving, or do you guys, how do you decide what course to play?
yeah, normally just the one closest to the house because we got to get back for dinner and all that. So that's Alexander Park in Lawrenceville. So it's fun. It's
Gotcha.
fun. It's a good course. Yeah.
Awesome. Off season's been good. You said you've been practicing. I
hmm
saw you just recently played in the Q series in Jacksonville. How was that?
Yes. That was a blast. That was my first time going down to Jacksonville. So I didn't know the course at all, and was able to shoot my first 1100 rated round of my career. So that was fun. And then I think I won by 11. So it's a great way to
Yeah,
end the season for sure.
you smoked. Yeah, those are my old stomping grounds. We actually
Oh
have a
well.
place in Ponte Vedra, which is just south of Jacksonville there. But
Okay.
yeah, I played that course. I want to say it's different now because you guys played like a 24 hole layout where
hmm
the tournament I played was only 18. Um, but I want to get your thoughts a little bit because we haven't really talked
Yeah.
too much about the Q series. One,
hmm
because I don't think it is really something that should be talked about all that often. I think it
hmm
is like a secondary thing, but maybe a topic would be when it starts getting to where getting on tour is challenging, right?
hmm
And for example, the PGA Tour, that tour card is so coveted. And if you were
hmm
on the, Corn Ferry Tour and you end up getting your tour card, that's a
hmm
massive thing where a lot of these guys that maybe don't get their tour card, they can still enter in and play a lot of these events still.
hmm
So that's where I think it will start getting a little bit more interesting. But I want to get your intake. You actually played the event. How
hmm
was the event itself?
I mean, it was great. It was ran perfectly, very smoothly. There wasn't. I think H1 Pro filmed the lead card, and then if Disc Golf Van Life, I think, filmed the chase card. So there was
Oh,
camera crews,
nice.
but no DGN wasn't there or anything like that. Um, I personally think because I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I know it's all points based, but like points don't
Mhm.
count for me. So I think there was like six of them this year. But I think it's a really cool opportunity for people who, want to see if they can actually get their tour card and perform with the pros or like with the top pros of the world. And I think that's a really cool way they set it up to where you can actually win, your own tour card. So I like it personally.
Yeah, were there any
It's like
crowds
kind
out
of like
there?
there's a good bit of people out there. I know there's a lot of uh, disc golf down in the Jacksonville area, and so we had a good like at least 40, 50 people following each round, I would think. And then a little more
Okay.
on the last day. But for like basically an A tier, I mean, that was pretty cool to
Well,
see.
yeah, the event that I played there was one of those wraparound silver events. So it
Oh, okay,
was
okay.
it was in I can't remember what year it was, but it was in the same time frame that you played, but it counted for the next season.
Wait, that was
You see what I'm saying?
no, I played that.
Is
I
that
played that at that was at New World. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I take it back. I've never played Four Palms. I've been in Jacksonville before to play New World.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So that the Jacksonville Open, I believe it was called the same thing. I
Mhm.
think they switched to a different. Oh, I didn't even know it was actually a different layout. So this was a completely different course then.
Yeah, we played
But
at Four Palms
okay,
and
not New World. Gotcha.
yeah,
But
not New World.
the crowds were about the same for
Mhm.
a which I would consider a silver event to be a little bit more prestigious
Right.
than a qualifying series event, and I would say the crowds are about the same. So that is good to see that people are still kind of coming out to watch some of these. Now
Mhm.
there has been a little bit of pushback. Um, there's people on both sides of the fence, right? You have the people that say, I want top pros to play in these events because one,
Mhm.
more eyeballs, potentially more views on, like you said, the I'm sure you playing in the final round on coverage on YouTube probably gets more clicks than 4 players that no one really knows. So there's that side that says I want to have, or I want to see where I stack up. And then there's the other side that say like, no, like this should be for people that are trying to be professional disc golfers and aren't on tour. What's your stance on that? I mean, clearly you played in the event, but like moving forward, what is your stance on it?
I think especially for like the off-season tournaments, I think it's a good mix because obviously, like you said, you want, at least 2 or 3 like touring pros to be, kind of the face of the tournament, to bring the eyes to the tournament, to watch the coverage and all of that. But also, you have, out of 2 or 3 touring pros, you have not, maybe all of them will make the lead card the next round, or one of the rounds, but like you normally have like 1 or 2, and then somebody else like a local comes up and makes the lead card. So I think it's a good mix of like, yeah, the pros are there to get the eyes watching, but also it gives a good chance for the underdogs to show their skills and everything, and compete with the pros, and also get that experience as well. So I think pros should be allowed to play it. But then again, it being in the off season as well, as not many are going to, so it kind of evens out, I think.
Yeah, I could see there being a time when, like I said, the tour, this qualifying tour and the Disc Golf Pro Tour, where the Disc Golf Pro Tour is super exclusive. You can't just like show up and, you can't get on the website at the right time and sign up, right? It's you either qualified and are in the event, or you show up to like a Monday qualifier and you get into the event. I can see when that gets to that point, which we're probably not that far away from, maybe 5-10 years, then I could see it saying like, hey, these things are completely separate, right? Similar to the NBA. If you're an NBA player, you can get moved down and play in the G League, but you can't be playing NBA games and then also playing G League games. You kind of have to move from one to the other. I mean, I guess those are a little bit different, but Corn Ferry Tour, PGA Tour, that's very similar. Of like, once you have your PGA Tour card, you can't play in Corn Ferry Tour events. So,
Yeah,
but
especially since
like you said, like,
sorry, I was going to say, especially since like for me, the points didn't count, so I didn't take away from anybody else below me who didn't have a tour card, except for money, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, no points or anything. So I like that.
Yeah, no, that is a good rule that they made, to where you still, if you come in second place behind you still get your full points. All right, let's switch topics a little bit. What was the dress code for your brother's wedding?
Well, for me, since I was a groomsman, let's see, I was the best man, so a little bit higher than a groomsman. But we wore white collared shirts with a bow tie, black bow tie, suspenders, and then black pants and black shoes. So I couldn't tell if I was a best man or a waiter the whole time. I had no idea.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
there was some comments going around Gannon's apparel.
He was not in the wedding party.
Correct.
Yes.
Which, here's the other thing too. I'm all for, our wedding. I think a lot of times it's what your wife wants, right? So I gave it all to Kelsey. I let her do the thing, whatever. I will say this: if I'm invited to a wedding and they say, "Hey, dress is casual," those people just went up like 10 points in my book. Like the last thing I want to do is try to fit into a tux. So I don't know. I think sometimes when people think wedding attire, they think like everyone's got to be in like black tuxes and stuff. And so I think that was some of the comments, but let's go this. Who's got the best dance moves out of your crew? Because I'm sure all you guys were there.
Yeah, it's got to be it probably is Gannon, just because like he doesn't care.
Does he pull out the robot? I feel like he pulls the robot out.
I didn't see it this last couple weeks, but I feel like he could do a good one. I feel honestly Gavin's a little underrated too. I feel like he can get loose if he needs to. But me,
is Alden on the dance floor?
Not really. He prefers to film. film the dance floor.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say he would have he was kind of those like he would be my dark horse pick of like either an insanely crazy dancer gets out there and gets after it, or
Right.
what I would guess would be like kind of just sits back and kind of assesses the situation. But
Yeah, yeah. No, I can do like the cha-cha slide, you know, a couple other ones, but yeah, yeah. I mean, the ones that give you the instructions in the song are that's my cup of tea right there.
gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just watched Wicked the other day. And
Okay,
so
okay.
I've got all sorts of choreography flying through my head from that musical. But
Let's go.
all right, let's go back to disc golf. Let's go back to
All
disc
right.
golf. So your name did get thrown around, obviously, this off season, every off season. Before we even get into that, I'm actually kind of curious where your stance is in the disc golf space, because if you've only been in the disc golf space, which, you know, your family, it seems like you guys kind of grew up playing disc golf, been around disc golf your whole life. A lot of stuff that goes on is normal because that's just how it's been, right? But from an outsider like myself coming in, there's a lot of strange things that aren't normal when it comes to the disc golf space that are different than the traditional sports. And one of those being how sponsorships operate. You know, the biggest thing right away is in other traditional sports, the sponsorship money is not the big money. The salary of playing the sport is the big money, or the purse of winning or any of that stuff, that is the big money. And then supplemental is the sponsorships, where in disc golf, I'm almost positive for almost everyone, they're making more money on the sponsorship side than they actually are on the purse side. So first question, do you like that setup, or would you love to see a world where it gets flipped and the purse is the highest and the sponsorship is supplemental?
Yeah, I can really see it both ways. For the sponsorship, I like having a set amount that I'm guaranteed um, throughout the year or however long the contract is. And it kind of takes a lot of stress off when playing in the tournaments because you're not like, okay, this is the only way I make money. You know, the tournament isn't, you know, the only thing, because you can be sick, you can be injured, you can just be in a funk, whatever, and you're not going to play your best at some tournaments. And if that's like, you know, the big money, then it's like, you know, you kind of screw yourself a little bit. But also, like you said, I mean, I would love to see bigger purses, of course. But yeah, I don't know.
My question though is more. My question more is though, like last year, if I won every tournament, I would have still made more in my sponsorship than
Oh,
purse.
okay.
Right?
Okay.
Where if you're on the PGA Tour and you win every event, you're making more than your sponsorships, right? Because you're
Right.
making, at that point,
Okay.
you're making 70, 80, 100 plus $1 million. And these guys aren't having, you know, there's a couple people like Ricky, Rory, there's a couple people that have big contracts, but they
Right.
might have a couple million with Nike, let's say, but they go out and win a major, that's like 4 million, right? So just one turn. So that's what I'm saying is like, what if going out and winning a major like Champions Cup that you almost did, what if that one win would have been bigger than your entire contract? Do you want to see the switch there of where now, because, and this is my thoughts on it. I think the disc manufacturers are doing an incredible job of basically keeping afloat professional disc golf, right? Because
Yeah.
they in turn are allowing a lot of pros to go out and play. But what I would love to see, and something that I think would also free up a lot of people, is if you weren't so, hey, I need, like, I'm secure, I need this, or I'm secure now because I have this money coming in, versus you going out there and you have a couple good finishes and now you're like, wow, I just made more money in those 3 finishes than I did with all my sponsorship money. I think that makes it to where players can be a little bit more free. They can talk a little bit more openly. They're not
That's true.
so worried and concerned. Some of the top players too that maybe don't want to be on social media, don't want to be in videos, they can still be very successful just by their play. So that's my
Right.
question is, would you like to see the flip of where the purse and performance is driving pay versus right now the sponsorship is what drives pay?
Yeah, no, yeah. When you explain it out that way, I think I like that better. Where it's like,
Okay.
because for me, I don't honestly like the only reason I have social media is because I'm required to, and it's how you stay
Yeah.
relevant. But like you said, if we're
Yeah.
going out there winning, huge tournaments, like you don't really need that as much. It's not as big, and it's a lot, less stress on the player, like you said. So I
And
think I agree
also,
with that.
yeah, and also too, when you go to when you go to your Instagram or Twitter or whatever or X or whatever you have, you're not thinking, okay, is this going to make people like me more? Is this people going to
Hmm.
make me hate me more? Is this going to help me sell this? Is it you can literally, if you're good based on your performance, you can literally just go there and say whatever you want, which I think when you look at these other sports, NBA,
Hmm.
football, like the other traditional big sports, players are saying stuff all the time,
Hmm.
and it's because they don't, if they have a bunch of people hate them all of a sudden, it doesn't matter to them. Their head coach, their GM, their
Hmm.
owner, they just care about performance. Go out there, win us ball games. You go out there, win us ball
Yeah.
games. It doesn't matter. So
Hmm.
that's the first thing. The other question I have that I find, again, being an outsider coming into disc golf, is the way that sponsorships are being treated. Right, this is, I feel like, actually might be a positive for disc golf and something that they can maybe run with more than they currently are. No other sport is the big media talking about where players are getting sponsored.
Hmm.
Off season of the NBA, people aren't saying breaking news is not happening in a podcast being like, is Steph Curry re-signing with Under Armour?
Right.
It's all about the team. Where is he
Yeah.
playing?
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
Because that matters. Where
Hmm.
in disc golf, they've kind of taken the sponsorship of what disc you throw, and they've kind of tied that in almost similar to like an F1. But again, like in these F1 scenarios and obviously in team sports, where you are matters so much more with performance, right? If
Hmm.
you, I don't know how familiar you are with F1, but if you're with Mercedes one year as a driver, and then they kick you off and you're going to some like bottom team that's got 1/10 of the budget,
Hmm.
you're probably not going to do that well. So
Right. Hmm.
where's your stance on that? Do you like that? Do you like that there is this like cult following around these manufacturers, these sponsors, and there is this like, okay, Ezra's sponsorship is up. Where is he going? Do you like
Hmm.
that in disc golf, or would you like it to be more like it is in golf, where no
Hmm.
one gives a really, most people don't give a rip if a top 20 player is switching from Callaway to Titleist?
Right. Yeah. For now, I think that is where disc golf honestly has to be, because like you said, we don't have the big money to where it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't technically matter where the sponsorship is. It's what are they making? What's the big money they're pulling in? So they're not worried about it as much. But for disc golf, everybody, that's the thing. Like, oh, where's the next sponsor? Who's going to be sponsoring this? Because it's the only kind of interesting thing, like for the off season, I would think. Like if that makes
Yeah,
sense. I'm not trying to bash anything, but it's like, I mean,
no, it
growing
is.
up, growing up, like I could not wait for the off season because I would keep track with everybody's contracts and be like, oh, where's Ricky
Mhm.
going? Oh, where's Paul going? All of this, and so that excited me because and like they weren't making big money, so it was like, I mean, but it's like that's the thing that excited me and excites a lot of people. So I think. Um, Yeah, I mean that's a vital point for disc golf. Maybe if we do grow into a huge, money sport, then maybe that will change. But for now, I think that's the way it's got to be. Um, if that
So
answered your
let's talk.
question.
Yeah, no, let's talk further on that. So
Mhm.
I have a very strong stance on this, and it's, it is funny because me and Yuli are on this podcast, and he is the team captain of Discraft,
Mhm.
and my stance has always been there aren't teams in disc golf. Like I'm not
Right.
on Team Discraft. I
Mhm.
throw Discraft. They pay me to throw Discraft, and
Right.
that is the relationship.
Mhm.
So, first question to you is: do you view it like Yuli, or do you view it like me? Like, we'll just use before we go into the rumor mill hill. We'll use your
Mhm.
past, Prodigy players that through Prodigy. Do you view those players as teammates?
Yes and no. So having back when we had Alden, Gannon, Gavin, Isaac all on Prodigy at one point, then like viewed them as teammates. But I mean, honestly, we're just more friends. So it's like our
Mhm.
friendship really solidified, our our group instead of the fact that we were on the same team. But we were able to like learn from each other, get the new molds, try them out, learn, talk to each other about it. So that helped in the form of a teammate or like teammates where it's like, now that, Gannon's on Discmania, I'm not taking his discs and being like, oh, what does this do? Blah, blah, blah. So we don't have that connection anymore. But like back when we were all on Prodigy, we did. So in that case, yeah, I would see it as a teammate. But then again, I'm trying to kick their butt every single weekend. So it's not like that, that help like we're versing each other, not not team.
Yeah, and also the other way too is like the, yes, because you can try to sell it this way of last year Gannon was with Prodigy, right?
Hmm.
You can try to sell it this way. Gannon had an insane year last year, Ezra. This is good for you. Like he's
Hmm.
bringing more eyes to Prodigy, and like those eyes are now seeing you.
Hmm.
You can try to sell it that way, but like the business side of me is if I'm on a team and there's a guy that's better than me, that's
Hmm.
winning more than me, like people are going to buy his stuff more. People are going to
Right.
want to be with the top guy.
Hmm.
Where if you would have left last year and let's say you went to like Lone Star or you went to like
Hmm.
West Side and now all of a sudden you're the best player that's sponsored by them, you're going to reap the benefits of that. So I've never understood too much on the, hey, having these people is actually better. But my question to you is, should disc golf actually dive more into that side? Because like you said, you followed it all the time in the off season. A lot
Hmm.
of people follow it. Some of our biggest episodes are are the ones that we talk about people leaving or when we have
Hmm.
people come on and announce where they're going. Those are some of
Right.
our biggest podcasts. So should disc golf actually go that route? Should we go more of an F1 route of where, hey, you know what? When I show up and AB wins a tournament, that actually helps me. So like, should we
Hmm.
go a route where it's like cross country, where each
Yeah.
team gets to pick their 7 best guys? They go out there and the 5 top score from the 7 guys that they put out there go. And now we're
Hmm.
actually on a team and we actually are team Discraft going. Cause like when I mean, I've played a lot of team sports. At
Hmm.
the end of the day, there's some days where I don't got it. And when I
Hmm.
don't got it, I'm rooting for other people. I'm hoping other people, lift me up when I don't got it.
Right.
When I go out there and I'm playing poorly, that's the only thing I care about. I
Hmm.
don't really give I love Ezra, I love Goose, I love those guys, but when they come back
Hmm.
to the Airbnb and they tell me, dude, I played great today. If I played like crap, them coming back telling me they played great, that doesn't do anything to me. But
Right.
if
Hmm.
we're teammates and we're trying to beat you over at Prodigy, we're trying to beat Gannon at Discmania, and Ezra comes in and we're teammates now, you better believe
Hmm.
I'm giving that guy a bear hug. And I'm saying,
Right.
thanks so much. I played like absolute trash. Let's go. So, like, should we
Exactly.
go more that route? I think
um
we should. I think we should go
yeah.
more that route.
Yeah, I mean, both have their pros and cons. Like if you are solo and you just have a bad year or a bad couple months, then it only reflects on you, and it's probably not good. But if you're playing mediocre and then the rest of your team is playing really well, then you're kind of like you said, lifted up in that and kind of considered part of it. Um, I've never played any team sport. I've only played disc golf, so I've always been every man for himself, and I really
Mhm.
like that. That way, I hate disappointing people. I hate letting people down, and I feel like if I was on a team, there would be even more pressure to um, kind of
Yeah.
perform better, and that would add a lot of more pressure to me. When it's just me, I don't care. Like I'm the only one who's it affecting, and it takes a lot of stress off my mind in that scenario. So I personally prefer the single non-team sport
Well, let me
kind of aspect.
pose this for you out there. Let me throw this out there. Every manufacturer throws in $1 million.
Hmm.
Okay. And everything stays the same, right? It's still an individual sport. You can still go out there and win a world championship. You can still go out there and win a major. However, now there is this manufacturer cup where you guys are vying for it and trying to win for it, right?
Hmm.
So you could still go out there and have a great season. You could still go out there and have a bad season. At the end of the year, whoever wins the manufacturer cup, let's say they win $5 million. Second place wins $1 million, whatever. You figure out the
Hmm.
money. Some of that money goes to the actual manufacturer, and then the other percentage goes amongst the team players, the players that
Hmm.
help them get to that. So now that's like a nice
Yeah.
bonus basically at the end of the year. Now you
Okay.
talking about yourself, like if you go out there and you have a bad year, guess what? Prodigy's probably like, let's get rid of this guy. Let's try to pull
Right.
someone in to actually try to
Hmm.
help us win this. Prodigy hasn't won the manufacturer cup in 10 plus years.
Hmm.
Like there's gonna be that rivalry going, because right now it's a weird space for me, because on
Hmm.
one side of times you have fans thinking like like people actually are rooting for each other because they're sponsored by the same
Right.
manufacturer. And
Hmm.
maybe that was back in the day, but that can't be more farther from the truth than now. There are some people that literally don't give a rip. They don't
Right.
care at all, and they shouldn't. They really
Hmm.
shouldn't. It's an individual sport with this facade that it's a team sport. So that's why I was like,
Hmm.
why don't we just kind of go more all in on the team and actually make it to where there is some sort of benefit for
Yeah.
Ezra going out there and winning a major, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I
So
mean,
it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Even if they just did
yeah.
like one event that was like a
Hmm.
manufacturing tournament of
Hmm.
where it was Prodigy versus Discraft, Innova versus Discmania, like I think that would do great, because the way that the fans are paying attention to this stuff, that is to me how to make these sports more interesting. You're gonna have
Hmm.
a much, like, to me, the rivalry between Discraft and Innova is way bigger than any individual rivalry right now that we have in
Right.
disc golf.
Except for
I
maybe
mean,
Ricky and Gannon.
Paul, I don't think that's a huge rivalry
Really?
though.
Really? I think it could be.
No, because Gannon's too nice,
Yeah, that's
and Gannon beats him a
it's
lot.
yeah. It's
Like
so funny.
the the rivalry between Paul and Ricky, like
Yeah.
when they actually didn't like each other, like
Hmm.
that was a good rivalry. But like a rivalry is not two teams, like you don't want to see a rivalry where two teams like love each other, or like
Hmm.
during the battle are like cheering you on.
Right.
Gannon is kind of like one of those guys that
Yeah.
he kind of just doesn't really care. Like he's
Right.
fine. He doesn't probably
Yeah.
even see it as a rivalry.
No, he likes watching good disc golf no matter who's throwing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, look at Lone Star. Talk about a dark horse team that could just like put a nail in someone's side,
mhm.
Like to me, like those rivalries right now with the manufacturers, to me, those are ones that people can get behind
Mhm.
way more than, and also that would be great for like someone like Gannon, right? Because Gannon
Mhm.
has had some issues with his slow play, people, whatever. Like
Mhm.
now all of a sudden, like all the people that love Discmania, when it's like that, they don't care if their guy's going out there and winning. I mean, look at Twitter after a college football game or after an NFL game. The
Mhm.
fan bases constantly are giving excuses for their players.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
kind of down the road, but it'll be interesting. All right.
Yeah.
I've waited enough time. We got to talk about now what the people have came to listen. Do we have any announcements? Can you tell us anything about what's going on with you next season?
Mhm. Um, I am not allowed to tell anything officially. Um, it was actually kind of funny because I'm not on Twitter, I'm not on X, I'm not, whatever you want to call it. I'm not on Reddit. I don't know what people are saying. I
Okay.
don't know what the rumors are. The only rumors I've heard, it cracked me up, but I was sitting just watching a movie or something Sunday night, and like I get four texts back to back from different people, and I was like, what the heck is going on? I hardly ever text, and it's all, I think it's the video that I forget who put it out, but and it's
So
just like,
the disc golf world is the one that put out a video
okay,
claiming that they have a source that is telling them where you're going.
yeah, yeah. So I saw the cover and I was like, well, that's news to me. That's interesting. Okay. So I watched it and I was like, they did say they had a source, and I mean, you can believe everything you see on the internet, so I guess that's fair. No, but like I mean, I don't put a lot of stock in that because like I could literally text you right now and be like, "Hey, did you hear that Ulibar is going back to Prodigy?" And then
Yeah.
like I can screenshot that, put that in a video and say whatever, you know? So
No,
like
for
I don't,
sure.
yeah, it's like, okay, I mean, you may be right, you may be wrong. Like I don't know what sources, especially since you didn't name a source, like that doesn't give me a lot of stuff to go on.
Yeah,
And
it
then
looks like from watching some of their videos, it looks like their source is a player, not
okay,
behind, because sometimes we do see like behind the scenes people.
hmm,
I believe there was some people at MVP or connected to MVP that leaked basically James Conrad, his van when he was visiting MVP before he signed the deal. We
okay,
have seen that before. We've
okay,
also seen the, hey, I'm a local player. I saw
hmm,
Ezra Robinson today, and he was playing behind me. And when he threw his disc up, it was a Discmania, whatever. Right? We've
right,
seen
right,
those as
hmm,
well. This
yeah,
this from what it looks like, and some of the screenshots that they sent from this person, this looks
hmm,
like a player. So this looks,
okay,
and this is
okay,
where again, this is where I'll say it. Manufacturers, stop telling people, and then
mm,
players stop telling people. Like, those are the two things. If the manufacturer doesn't tell anyone and the players don't tell anyone, no one has any idea.
right,
No one has any
right,
idea.
hmm,
And so I think that's the issue with all this always is, people get excited, people want to tell people and all that stuff. I
hmm,
mean, heck, who was it? Simon. I think Simon was telling everyone at Big Germ's wedding where he was going to MVP,
yeah,
right? I think,
hmm,
and then that kind of went through the grapevine. So,
hmm.
but no news. Do we have a date of when maybe an announcement is coming potentially?
I believe it's coming January 1st.
Okay, first of the
I think
year.
that's the
Okay.
earliest we can announce. Um, but yeah, still a lot of things in the works. But yeah, no, it's yeah. I wish I could share more, but
Well,
that's
I
pretty much
mean,
it.
I think it's obvious. I think it's obvious to say that you're not staying with Prodigy. Um, but with knowing, basically, with assuming that when it comes to sponsorships, because I think this would be, I think a lot of people listening to this show would love to hear it from you, a
Mhm.
top player. What are the things you mentioned? Guaranteed money, knowing like, hey,
Mhm.
this is how much money you're going to make for sure. But what are
Yeah.
some other things that you look for when it comes to a sponsorship?
Definitely a company that has a good reputation, I would think. That's a lot of that's really important for me and my morals and stuff like that. And I know I'm not going to even pretend to know every little thing about business because I don't. So I understand like whatever. But that and then see, it's nice to be valued for sure. So them actually reaching out, if it's if it's a new sponsor, like sending you stuff before, so you have plenty of time to practice, plenty of time to figure stuff out, being able to talk back and forth pretty easily. It doesn't take weeks to get back to me on something. Um, I would say yeah, just like not above and beyond, but like just like actually prove that they actually want you and care about you. I think that's a huge thing for a sponsor.
Yeah, I think one thing we're starting to see is the need for professionalism on the sponsor side. Now, with that being said, that means the players themselves also need to be professional as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen it on both sides where players just say, I'm literally breaking my contract and going with this person. Sue me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you're kind of putting that person in a tough spot because I mean, even when we saw the Gannon situation,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of people would say Gannon was in the wrong there with what he
Yeah.
did. However,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are like, wow, Prodigy sucks. They're suing a kid. And it's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
that's where you're putting. So to me, it's like if you want the manufacturers to be more professional, because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I saw some of the contracts, and I'm sure you guys listening to this, me and Yuli have, because this is being recorded after the fact. I'm sure me and Yuli will talk about this. When I first came in, I mean, I've dealt with 6-figure contracts numerous times with some of the biggest companies in the world.
Mm-hmm.
When I came in and started looking at some of the contracts and negotiations with some of these companies, they're like handshake deals.
Right.
Like they would send you like an email with bullet points being like,
Mm-hmm.
does that work for you? It's like, what? No.
Yeah.
So I think we're starting to see some manufacturers leveling up and being like, oh, we need to take our things up. And some others that I'm sure you kind of discussed with this offseason, not doing that. And so as a player, I'm with you. If one's doing this and one's doing down here, I'm going to feel a lot more confident with this company than this one down here. So yeah, love to hear it. That's awesome. I know a lot of us are really excited with seeing what's to come with your game next season. I mean, obviously you're right on the cusp there, a few tournaments and, super consistent, high ceiling player. Is there anything this off season that you're working on to try to get you over the hump to get that first big win on tour next year?
Yeah. Just becoming more, just learning, taking the time to actually learn discs well, and just know what they're going to do in any situation. I've been practicing a lot of wind, a lot of different directions of wind. Been throwing uphill, downhill, just trying to prepare myself for every single aspect. Because I'll get out to Idlewild, play fine, ledge sound great, but I get out to D-Glow and it's like so windy and uphill, downhill. And it's like that's part of my game that really needs to be worked on. So I've been going out to especially on windy days, a couple rainy days as well. So trying to prepare for the elements, I guess, a little bit more, and just always practice putting. I'm doing more putting practice than I ever have. So just trying to keep that part of the game going well. So that's pretty much it.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
So.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate you jumping on here kind of last minute. Also, when the announcement comes January 1st, you are welcome to pop on if you want to kind of talk a little bit more about it when you can. But appreciate you coming on here. Best of luck this off season. Stay healthy, and look forward to seeing you on tour next year, brother.
I appreciate it. Oh, and fun fact, the first tournament I'll be playing with a new sponsor, if that is the way we go, then it would be down in New Zealand. So that'd be fun.
Oh, you're going down there.
Yeah. Going down for 5 weeks. Leave January 6th. So.
Oh my God. Have you ever been to that part of the world?
Never. So I'm super excited for that. Yeah. So it's gonna be pretty
Make
pretty
sure
fun.
You download a lot of a lot of movies for that flight.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. So I'll watch Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings on the way. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll stay 5 miles from the Shire, so it'll be fun.
Oh, really?
So yeah.
What the heck? Man,
Yeah.
all right. Maybe I need to try and convince Kelsey to go down there at some point.
You should.
All right, brother. Appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Cool.
And hopefully talk soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, sir.